Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome to a extra interview of Final Cut. And today I'm joined by an actor, a writer, and director. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Ben Scattone.
Hey.
So firstly, how are you, sir?
Great. Doing great. Loving the weather.
Good. So let's start with the inevitable question. How did you get started out in acting?
Started grade school plays. Very, very small. I think my first play was maybe fifth grade. So what would that be? 11 years old.
Yeah.
But after that, where I'm from originally, it's so rural and there's not a big population. There's really no outlet for arts after that. Like junior high and high school didn't really have any theater.
Obviously, everyone has certain influences when they're actually thinking of being an actor. So, who were your influences growing up?
Oh man, growing up, shy on even Stevens.
Yeah.
Who else? Really, the Boy Meets World cast.
Who was in that cast? Because I can never remember.
Let's see.
Was it Fred Savage?
Yeah, no, Ben. Fred Savage was oh man, he had a series as well that was amazing. Can't think of the name now.
He had.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people might not know, but you've done a lot of shorts, whether it be film or TV, which actually is a nice change of pace. I mean, Vin Diesel started out with his career doing short films. In fact, it was actually a short film that got him noticed for Fast and Furious. But
yeah.
you've also done TV series as well. What would you say is easiest?
It depends on your role in the TV series. If it's a supporting role, it's a fairly simple day. If it's more of a recurring regular on the series, it may be a little more strenuous, but it's also a stronger chance to actually build a character, develop a storyline with it. Short film, it's more, we have these certain days. Usually a short film is maybe anywhere from 3 to, 10 days of filming. And you really have to get it in at that certain time. Also with a series, it's especially if you're recurring, you have one day. If you're right, there's usually a timeline. But I think with the short film, it allows you, there's more creative aspects in it. Because it's usually less inexperienced people. With a series, it's more, it's like, we got to get this shot, and then we're clear.
What is the overall dream for you? As in, what would you like to do in the future as far as projects go? Like, I'll say, for instance, like have a starring role in the MCU or in the DCEU, because obviously that's taken off as well. So, what's the dream?
That is a good question. I'll stay in the DC world. I'd love to do a Robin feature that's super dark, like in the same direction they're taking the Batman one.
Yeah. You mentioned that, but would you like to do a Jason Todd movie? I do know a little bit about comic books. I actually know one of my podcast co-hosts actually knows a lot more than I do, but the one thing I always remember is Jason Todd, who was Batman's second Robin before the Joker killed him, and then he came back as Red Hood. So I'm assuming you'd like to do a Robin along that line?
Yeah. I want to please everyone that's grown up on those magazines and have know so much more about the world than I do.
Yeah. I'm going to say, if you ever do that movie and you need any guidance, I know just the person to call.
Perfect.
All right. Is it just a Robin DC movie, or have you got any other dreams?
I'd love to do something in the world of the historical war films, like Dunkirk, Saving Private Ryan, something like that. Those are crowd pleasers or tear jerkers for just about everyone. What else?
I'm guessing rom-coms, maybe rom-coms. Rom-coms, westerns, science
Oh,
fiction, horror.
I'd love to do a Western. I did a Western short a while back, but I'd love to do something in the world of like a Tombstone.
Yeah. Oh God. You mentioned that that was actually my sister used to like that movie. I never could understand why. It was probably Val Kilmer in a cowboy outfit. Was probably what it was because she was a big Val Kilmer fan back in the day.
Yeah, that's Val Kilmer's best performance.
Yeah, I
He's
don't know
so
if you
good
agree
there.
with me on this or not, but I was actually thinking about it the other day, and I was like, well, how many westerns have been released in the last 10 years aside from the Magnificent Seven? I know West World did it for 2 seasons. Francesca Eastwood's done a movie a couple of years ago, but aside from that, I don't really think there is any Western films that have been released.
I consider the Hell or High Water. I consider that like a modern day Western. But yeah, it is a genre that's fading out for the most part.
I blame Clint Eastwood for it.
Yeah.
He's moved on to like Gran Torino, and it's like Westerns have suffered because he's diverted his interest to other genres. Now, this is quite interesting for me because during my research, I actually found out that you did a TV series called How to Do Screenwriting Good. So I suppose the question is, how do you do screenwriting good?
That if I knew the answer, no, you're good. If I knew the answer to that, I would be a lot better off financially. No, it's that project was a lot of fun. That was my friend Angus McNair. That was his baby, and he cast me in that. And it's a spoof comedy that really is. It gets political, and then it was a lot of fun to make.
Definitely a few laughs as well by the sound of it.
What's that?
A load of laughs as well by the sound of it.
Yeah.
You've also done a TV show called Your Friends Just Aren't That Into You, which you literally, I'm not being joking when I say this, ladies and gentlemen, but you literally did everything for it. So what was your inspiration for doing that?
That one was just, I had a script written out for, I was on a sketch team at Second City, and I wrote it for that, and it just didn't fit on stage as well as I thought it would. So I had the friends, and we had the equipment, we had the locations. We just decided to shoot the project, and that was a ton of fun.
Since you I must say to everyone listening and watching, what was it you actually did? You actually directed it, wrote it, you starred in it. Did I miss anything out, or did you produce it as well?
Yeah, I produced as well.
Yeah. So how difficult is it doing multiple jobs on a set?
It can be very difficult. It depends on the size of the set. That one was literally maybe 8-9 people. A majority of it was close friends. So it was, from a directing standpoint, I mean, it was my first thing, and I was open to everyone and anyone's input on what they thought would be better. But it was, when you have all of those hats on, it's you don't feel limited at all, any creative basis. And it was a great experience.
And also, what I kind of feel lacking is when you as a director or a writer have a vision, and you're trying to translate that vision to, I'll say, everyone who's in it or to everyone else, some of it can get lost in translation. But sometimes, like in what you did, it can be a case of, right, this isn't going to be lost in translation. This is going to be done as good as I want it to be done, and as good as I feel it can be done.
Yeah, on that, I don't want to be a line reader for anyone. I don't want to tell them, no, I think your delivery I want you to say it like this. That's just taken away from their creative aspect. I always tried to find, like, just meet in the middle. Like if I talked with an actor and asked where he was coming from in the scene or his moment before, and just gave him an idea of what I was viewing or how I would like to view it. And then he put his own interpretation on it. It was money.
Yeah. It is actually quite refreshing to have somebody whose actual, I'll say, creation it is, and ask for other people's input. Because usually, I don't know how I'll say how often it is. Well, it's not very often that actually happens because you have a lot of directors who have a vision and will not differ from it. So it's actually quite refreshing to hear that you're actually open to other people's ideas.
Oh yeah, I view it's there are some directors that it's a dictatorship for sure on set. And I don't know if that's just an ego trip for them or what, but things go so much smoother when you just allow other people's input.
Now, I have been curious about this because this is actually kind of, pardon me in England for saying this, but my cup of tea. You've done something called Buried in the Backyard, which, as far as I can tell, is kind of like Netflix's Haunted. Is that probably the best way to describe it?
Yeah, for the most part, Buried in the Backyard is it's a reenactment of true stories of people that like crimes that are either unsolved or were like big in the news. And yeah, so it's the same realm for the most part. But yeah, I think that's on Oxygen, or it was. I don't know if they got bought out, but
yeah, because I know this might be a bit cliche for I'll say for me and others like me, but I do tend to find that because I actually do love my horror, as everyone who listens and watches knows. But I do kind of find that stuff like that that's actually happened is more frightening than anything that comes out of one's imagination. Because it's like, it's really happened. This could actually happen. This is actually quite scary.
Oh yeah. That's what I've been listening to. I can't think of it's a Black Dahlia podcast that I was recommended to.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was a murder. Oh man, I think the body was found like at El Monte at the high school up there. I think it was like 1948. But just it's so dark and creepy, and just the fact that it actually happened turns it a little bit more in its weirdness.
Yeah. Would you be up to doing a movie based on, like, I'll say either real events or a movie that's actually physically based on real events?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think that brings in a different audience. And then it's also, I think it was Michael B. Jordan talking about Fruitvale Station. And he put so much pressure on himself for that, to portray the real person, to get their message that they wanted. So yeah, it's another chance to, I don't know, showcase, but also bring a message across that needs to be heard.
Right, this next section is just basically something I ask everyone. It's just a couple of questions, nothing major. What advice would you give someone who feels they're getting nowhere with their entertainment career and is thinking of just giving it up?
I mean, if you're considering giving it up, do the pros and cons list of why you started and why you're still in it, because this stuff is not a sprint; it is a marathon. Like,
I was actually talking about someone else the other day. Everyone tends to hit their form in their 30s, mid-30s. I mean, Simon Cowell didn't start his big career until he hit I think it was his early 40s, late 30s, and now look at him.
Mm-hmm.
Gerard Butler didn't start his until 20 years ago when he was 27. So it's a case of, like I said, it is a marathon, not a sprint. Nothing comes to you all at once, and it is. I know it's nice to see rewards every once in a while, but you do get them. But the big rewards come with time.
Yeah, and I think the average acting, like, no one really breaks through at all until like maybe year 8, year 9 of their career. And it's hard, but I mean, if you're the way, you can't have a plan B, because if you have a plan B, that just ends up becoming your plan A.
Yeah.
If you have something to fall back on, you're going to fall.
Definitely. Also, you could also state the fact that it kind of like that's not your motivation, because if you have a plan B, you're going to literally fall back on that and you have no other plan. So it's kind of like, right, I'll not have a plan B. I'll put all my effort into plan A.
Exactly.
Yep. Now, obviously, we are in the COVID year, which has kind of hit cinemas hard. So it has sort of been a bit brightened up a little bit with the news that Wonder Woman 84 will still be showing in cinemas, but also released on HBO Max. Do you think that is sort of a taste of things to come, aside from it will mainly be like, say, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, Netflix releasing everything and not going straight into theaters or cinemas?
I think, unfortunately, it's going to become that. I'm fearful for what the future holds for like the theater world. But I'd love to see these streaming services or production companies buy out their own like theaters throughout the country. And it's either like you have an option of either to stream it at home or you can pay and go see it in the movie theater. It's your choice. But like Lionsgate would have their own, Paramount would have their own, Netflix, Hulu, they would all have their own theaters in every city. And then they could just show their own stuff there.
It's not a bad idea, that, actually. But I can see a lot of, I mean, in England, it's not really that easy because obviously we have your independent ones. We have Odeon, which I believe is owned by AMC. There's View, I'm not sure who they're owned by, and Cineworld, who also own Empire Cinemas. So there's three major ones, but it would just be a case of not quite sure who would actually buy out which ones, to be honest, because those are the three main cinema chains over here.
Yeah, I think it would be a long time of contract disputes and stuff like that, but we'll see what happens with it, because I know here AMC you can rent out your own theater for $99.
Really?
Yeah, it's like you and a group of up to 20 friends can rent out your own theater and watch a movie.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Oh. Of course, being over here and ticket prices aren't exactly what you call cheap. Knowing our look, it'd be like £500. Right, you can have 20 of your mates in, rent out a theatre. We only ask for £500, and that's just a down payment. Obviously, we want like another £500 for security, for drinks, staff members, etc., etc. Yeah, I do like that idea. That's actually been the most constructive answer I've had, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Benjamin that is not a writer, not a director, and not an actor either. So let's talk about Ben the man. So what are your interests and what are you passionate about?
I mean, I know we don't want to get into acting, but I'm just a huge movie guy.
It's all right. Everyone's usually comes back. It usually comes back to acting anyway, so you're all right.
Yeah, I binge. Usually, the only series I usually watch in my own time is just comedies that either you feel good or it's like my favorite show is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and then you can go in a little more of the sitcom-esque, like more Parks and Rec, The Office. I mean, they're not sitcomies, but they're not as dark or real as It's Always Sunny. And really anything FX has on, like Atlanta, Dave, What We Do in the Shadows, all those shows are phenomenal. But other than that, big sports guy, used to be a lot bigger, played baseball, high school, college, and then I was in Australia for a year for it. But then I don't know, kind of lost the passion as I got older for it. Kind of seems like it's a game. Like it's just, I don't take it near as serious as I used to.
So I used to actually play football a bit, but I sort of didn't bother with it after I was 18. Did used to be quite a big cricket fan, but kind of gone off it. I did used to love wrestling a lot, but went off it, but I'm back on it now. Same with basketball. I didn't finish playing. I finished playing it after I finished high school, but I still follow it. Obviously, it's a bit different over here because in America you've got like ABC, NBC, and they all show basketball, whereas ours over here is a bit complicated because he keeps getting rebounded, pardon the basketball pun, or different stations and all that. I mean, we've had, Channel 5 actually did highlights, Sky Sports did it, Channel 4 hosted it. So you see what I mean? It kind of likes to get rebounded between the different stations. So it's a bit harder to watch it, but I actually watch it more on ESPN just because that's how easier it is.
Yeah, it's very accessible through that, yeah. But yeah, I remember when I was in Australia getting up at like 4:30 in the morning to try to catch, because they would air NFL games with the the time difference. It was like 4:30 a.m. You catch the second half or something like that.
I remember my first WWE pay-per-view. I went to bed about 9:30, got up at 1 a.m. for it, then watched it, then went straight back to bed for it. Fortunately, it's quite easier with like WWE Network, where it goes by, then you can watch it at 9 a.m. in the morning. But back then, 20 years ago, you never had that choice. You had to literally watch it or tape it. So yeah, I am actually grateful for technology for some part of it. Definitely a lot better than a VHS, which usually goes off after about one watch.
Oh yeah, then it's ruined. Or that's if you're. I remember growing up watching the wrestling pay-per-views, and it's like if you try to record that, you're like, I'm gonna need 2 VHSs because this thing is 4.5 hours long.
And then praying to God that the timer you put on for overnight actually worked. Which was also a bummer for me because it never used to work. But now, like I said, technology's come a long way. We don't have to tape everything. We just go online, stream it, and watch it whenever we want. Oh yes. What would you say are your career highlights?
Highlights so far? Well, I just signed across the board with a new agency, so they represent me for theatrical, TV, film, commercial, and print. So that right now is the highlight, I guess. I mean, I've loved all the projects I've worked on, but I think I'm more excited to see what the future holds.
Yeah, so I always am. Speaking of projects, have you got any coming up in the next, I'll say, couple of months to a year?
Yeah, I actually just had one released onto, you can watch it on Amazon. It's called Dark Figures. It got released November 10th.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it's it's a found footage horror, like in the same world as like a Blair Witch. And then I have another one in post work right now called Wonderlist, and I'm not sure what the director's intentions are with it after they're done. It could either be festivals or pilot pitching, or they may try to sell it on a streaming service. So we'll see what happens with that one.
What would you like the future to hold for you, as in good health, good career, family, etc., etc.?
I'd like to get to the point where living in Los Angeles, it's literally 2 different worlds of struggling actor to successful, where I've never made a decision or had to make a decision where money wasn't a factor in it. And when I hear some of my friends that are very successful, that it doesn't even pop in their mind, like, oh yeah, that cost a lot. It's not even a thought. So I don't know if I'll ever get to that point. I think I'm too frugal, but
you might be.
Yeah, I just like to get to the point where acting pays all the bills, the rent, or actually buy a house.
And you don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Just finally, before we do a mini quiz, if people want to find you on social media, how would they go about it?
I'm on Instagram at Ben Scattone, so BenScattone, and then I think I'm still on Facebook as well. I really don't get on there too much though.
Not missing anything, mate, to be honest. Oh, are you on Twitter, by the way?
I'm sorry?
Are you on Twitter?
I think I have an account, but I've only been on there like 3 times.
No, fair enough, thanks. That's what I was looking up. I was just waiting for you to say what it was, and then I was going to follow you. I did that last night, actually, believe it or not. Right, this quiz. It's only a mini one, so not much to really shout home about. So, since you are a director and you're a writer, what would your dream movie be? The only requirement is that you need to cast 4 actors and actresses. I'll push the boat out. Money is no object. So you have the backing of a billionaire, and he says, deliver the movie you want, get the cast you want, etc., etc. So who do you go for?
Oh my God.
And do you want me to give you my 4? Bearing in mind, I have a lot of. I always have options about who I'd want in mind. So would you like to?
I will. I'm gonna do. It's gonna be a gritty, like dirty cop or crime thing with Michael Shannon as the lead.
Ooh,
Ben Foster is going to be his partner.
that's a name. That's a name I've not heard in a while. Ben Foster. Blooming hell.
Oh my God, he's amazing. I freaking love Ben Foster. Either him or if he's not available, Giovanni Ribisi.
Ooh, you're going old school now, aren't you, with Giovanni? I like it.
Man, who else would I get in that?
You can have as it says 4 actors and actresses, but it doesn't specify over how many of each you can have.
Hmm.
So you can have 3 actors if you want, or you can have the 2 actresses. It's up to you.
Oh man, I cannot think of her name right now.
What's she been in? I might be able to help you out.
The one that, the recent one where, Watiki, the Nazi one.
Watiti.
Yeah, Watiti.
Oh.
She was the girl that was hiding they were keeping from the Nazis.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I forget her name as well. It's always worse when you get put on the spot, isn't it? You know who it is, you just can't remember her name. But yeah, I know who you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to have her in there somewhere. Maybe she's like the person the crime or whatever revolves around.
The mob boss, yeah.
Yeah. And then who else would I need? Oh man, there's so many amazing actors out there. Let me see. I don't know. Maybe Keaton as like the lieutenant or something. Michael
Keaton. I like Michael Keaton. Does he need to bring his vulture outfit though? That's the only question.
Yeah, he's got to bring that with him.
Yeah, he has got to bring that. Right. So, while we're on that subject, obviously there is a lot of, let's say there's always a lot of actors and actresses that you'd like to either work with or star with. So name me 10 or 20 actors or actresses that you haven't worked with yet that you would like to before old age creeps in and you decide to go into retirement.
Oh man, just all of them. I mean, it's such a long list of great actors. I would say, Shannon, Brad Pitt, Giovanni Ribisi, Ben Foster. Let's see. Gal Gadot, Viola Davis.
Who doesn't want to work with Wonder Woman? I want to work with Wonder Woman.
Pretty much all the actors and actresses of the MCU world are amazing. So you must put them on there.
I think it's close to 20.
yeah, it goes right above it. And Timothée Chalamet. I love his work so far.
You know he's got Dune coming next year.
Yeah, the trailer looked great.
I can't believe Dave Bautista actually looks serious.
Yeah, I know. He's who would have thought, man?
Well, to be honest, there is something that we can actually talk about another point. It's just something he said about Dwayne Johnson. That's shocking what he said, actually. Do you want to name any off, or shall we just say the whole of the MCU and finish it there?
We'll finish it there. I would. I'll make myself go insane trying to think of people to add.
Yeah. And on what's possibly been the quickest answers in the history of that quiz, ladies and gentlemen, I give Ben Scattone. Thank you very much for coming on, mate.
Hey, thank you, man. I really appreciate it.